you doing? Just getting off work. I'm trying out a new device. It's something that's sort of a necessity, so to speak, because somebody about 2 years ago contacted me about doing a certain type of job and said, and you need to get one of these cameras to do it. And it's a 360 camera, and I didn't buy the most elaborate, expensive kind of camera. I bought kind of the middle of the road, and I read some reviews on it, and it was okay. I mean, not the best, but I can see it's sort of wobbling on the dash. I realized I didn't have a very good way of mounting it. I was going to mount it up here, but so anyway, I'm trying out one of the editing modes to see how easy or hard it is. I've been trying to do the 360. I finally got figured out how to edit it and get it onto YouTube, and it looks alright, I guess. It doesn't have to be a super spectacular camera for me. It just has to work for what I need it to do. And, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on a fancy schmancy camera. I was going to say that some of these 360 cameras can be really pricey for what they are and what they do. They're kind of I've always sort of felt like they were gimmicky. But there is a use and a purpose for them, and now that I've used this thing and see it, I'm kind of like, that is kind of neat. It can move you into and out of a space very nicely and easily and show you exactly what's there, what's going on. But yeah. So anyway, we'll see how it works when I try and edit. I'm going to use, I'm not going to use it as a 360 camera. I'm going to use it as a dual camera and edit it so that I have the two different angles like I like to do. And I know the audio isn't the best, and possibly with this fan going, probably hearing the fan more than me. Like I say, it is cold. That's the heater. And other than that, I was going to do this big fancy blog with pictures and stories and everything, and about the YJs, because I decided to create a playlist on all my YJ's videos, just YJ's, and I was amazed at how many videos I'd actually shot over the years. And, you know, different quality. Some of them are pretty good quality, some of them, But, you know, it's not just YJ's, it's YJ's related, you know, like the Crossroads, and I walked to YJ's, you know, had coffee there or something. But, when I put it together, I was like, yeah, I should do a blog on this, on the passing of YJ's. It shut down. Oh, when did it shut down? About September of 2018, and it didn't quite make a year. It moved there in July of 2018 into that new location. It had been open for 11 years previously at the other location, and according to the owner, actually had been open almost 100 years as YJ's, which is true. It was an establishment called YJ's, and then David bought the business, took it over, and changed it into his vision of it. But before it was his, it was kind of a convenience store. I don't know, had sort of an illustrious, colorful history before that. It was It was named after a guy by the name of Young Johnny Flynn. I think the original owner, the original proprietor. And it opened up in what was then known as Film Row. And Young Johnny had an interesting take on what he considered artistic film. Let's just say there were certain types of movies that were considered contraband back in the 1920s when it opened, and so let's just say that he wasn't showing the legal kind of films, if you know what I mean. These days we have access to all that stuff, and it's not quite illegal, but back then it was illegal to have that kind of film. I'm explaining it very well. Make sure I don't get clobbered here. And like I say, I don't know how well this is going to work. I definitely have to have a better stand than I have now. Say I was going to mount it up here, but I realize I don't have the GoPro 1/4-20 mount to mount it to a threaded screw, and it's a Monday, and I'm going to go get some coffee, and just to play around with this thing. It snowed a little bit this morning as I was coming in, a dusting of snow. And just enough to make it to where I had to use the ice scraper on the windshield. But not really enough to make roads messy, and not really enough that people actually really noticed it. It was a surprise. I didn't even expect that, I guess. And this is the end of the year and the end of the decade. Hazard when you don't have the right mount. But the end of the year and the end of the decade, and things are looking up, I guess, in Kansas City. Nice big pothole down there. And the football team is winning, although I still say my theory is that they are cursed. Because of not because of their name or because they are a bunch of racists or anything like that. I'm not going there. done stories on that, but I think that because of the, I don't know, more or less because of the tomahawk chop, to put it, I think people should just stop doing that. That's kind of silly and inoffensive. But I think that teams acquire a curse, and I've seen a lot of hope with this team. They've come a long way. I think that some of the players that they have on the team really have good camaraderie and a spirit. You know, I like to see them succeed. I'm not explaining myself very well at all, but the curse more or less has something to do with, you know, when you look at teams that have won over the years versus teams that have consistently done very poorly, a lot of it has to do with the team itself. And you know, when you got a bunch of individuals and they want to play for themselves, they're in it for themselves, then it doesn't do well for the team, and the team tends to not win very much. And so when you put that into the factor of, if we could do everything we could to not be disrespectful, because, you know, when there's something that's not considered super respectful, then you tend to attract the type of people who aren't lending themselves to the team. I don't know. Personal feelings. And we'll see. Maybe this is the year. I don't talk football. I don't even really like football, so. But we'll see. It'd be kind of cool. You know, it was kind of cool when the Royals won. And I know when it's hard when you talk about athletics, but really athletics is a microcosm of life within itself. Athletics has a lot to do with respect. You know, almost everything is based on respect and humility. And when you introduce things into the mix that aren't completely kosher, you know, I don't think the Chiefs is really a bad name. I don't think it disrespects anybody in and of itself. But I think there's some things that we do as a culture, we say as a culture and think as a culture, they're not on the up and up, and kind of introduce things into what we're trying to do that we really don't want to be there. And so maybe it's time to rethink the imagery. I've always suggested that maybe the Chiefs should dedicate more of their name and their time and their imagery to first responders, you know, like fire chiefs. And I think that at 9/11 it would have been a great opportunity to do that, but other people didn't think the same way, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm here, I'm queer, get used to it.